Did you know Karn has a caffeine addiction? I didn't either. Let's talk about it. Hello Internet, my name is Damian Michaels, but you can call me Blue, and we're back with another episode of Blue's Brews. This week's deck is kind of insane, so it's much easier for me to show you how it works rather than try to explain it to you, so that's what we're gonna do. But before we get started, this game here is actually played with Sparky. I was just doing a test run to see how well the deck worked before I actually got into a real game with the deck. This is the very first draft of the deck. I did not expect this to do well. And then this happened. It's a lot, so just try to keep up. Sparky is on the play, and we both keep it 7. Sparky plays a swamp and passes. We play an island and pass, holding up Consider. Sparky untaps, plays a swamp, and a 2-drop. We play Consider, finding a second Mind Stone. On our turn, we just play an island, Mind Stone number 1, and pass it back to Sparky. Sparky untaps, attacks for 2, plays a swamp, and an unwilling ingredient. We untap, play an island, drop the second Mind Stone, and send it back. Sparky plays a swamp, plays a 3/3 skeleton that pings us when it enters. Sparky attacks for 4, drops us to 13, and passes the turn. We untap, drop an island, and play Karn, the Great Creator. And we're going to -2 to grab the 1 ring from our sideboard. Oh, what's this back here, you say? Oh, nothing. Don't worry about that. We'll come back to that later. Sparky untaps, plays a Savage Gorger, attacks for a whopping 6 damage, and passes. It's a good thing we have the 1 ring, because we're going to need it this turn. Little surprised they didn't kill Karn, but whatever. We untap, play an island, and -2 Karn again, this time grabbing our spooky mystery card. That's right, this is a Paradox Engine deck. You probably already figured that out seeing all the cards that we've drawn so far, but we can't combo out this turn. Instead, we're just going to play Pour Over the Pages to draw 3 cards, untap 2 lands, and discard a land. Then with our remaining 4 mana, we're going to drop the 1 ring. So the 1 ring is a 4 mana indestructible artifact that says if we cast it when it enters the battlefield, we gain protection from everything until our next turn. It also says we can tap it to put a burden counter on it and draw a card for each counter. And we take damage at our upkeep equal to the number of burden counters. So this enters and we gain protection from anything until our next turn. We pass it back to Sparky, and this is basically our last chance. We either win next turn or we lose to Sparky. We untap, upkeep, the 1 ring deals 1 damage to us, and we draw for turn. We start things by playing an island and drawing 2 more cards with the 1 ring. Then we play Paradox Engine. So Paradox Engine is a 5 mana legendary artifact that says, whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control. You can probably see where we're going with this. Engine resolves, so we cast an Opt to untap our board. Opt resolves, and we bottom a Treasure Cruise, then drawing... Oh yeah, there it is, the Caffeine Machine, the star of the show, Dynavolt Tower. At this point, it should be obvious what the game plan is, but I'm going to take a second to explain some things so nobody gets lost from here. So Dynavolt Tower is the win condition for the deck. Tower is a 3 mana artifact that says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you get 2 energy, and you can also tap it and pay 5 energy to deal 3 damage to any target. So now that Paradox Engine is in play, every spell we cast will untap our non-land permanents. And this is how we generate mana with Mind Stone and another mana rock we haven't seen yet. In between spells, we're going to tap all of our mana producing artifacts and cast something cheap like Opt or Consider. As we cast these cheap spells, over time, this will allow us to generate virtually infinite mana. In addition to this, every time we untap, we get to activate the 1 ring. And since it only triggers on the upkeep to deal damage, we can continually use it to draw exponentially more cards each time it untaps, so we don't fizzle the combo. This just means we have to win the game this turn, or we lose to our 1 ring trigger regardless of what our opponent has going on. All the while, we're casting our Ops and our other spells, we're gaining energy from Dynavolt Tower, 2 energy at a time, and this is how we're going to close out the game. So every 3 instant or sorcery spells we cast gains us 6 energy from Dynavolt Tower, and Tower requires 5 energy to bolt our opponent. And this clock is increased by the more towers we have in play, since the energy production stacks with each subsequent tower. There's 3 towers in the main deck, and the 4th tower is in the Karn board. If we get all 3 main deck towers in play, then every single instant or sorcery spell we cast is gaining enough energy for us to bolt the opponent, with each time we untap with Paradox Engine. After enough time chaining spells together, this happens. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, this was just the first draft of this deck. There are some adjustments that can be made, such as adding some non-basic lands and possibly adding Memory Deluge over Glimmer of Genius. You can also add Midnight Clock to your Karn board as a fetchable blue source in the event that you can't find Cold Steel Heart. In this game against Sparky, we actually had time to assemble our combo pieces, and we had an extra turn with Karn that we shouldn't have had if Sparky had attacked it. So there is the downside with playing against the AI. So of course that means this video isn't fully indicative of this deck's power. In some games I played that unfortunately didn't get recorded, we struggled hard against super fast aggro decks and hardcore control decks. But that's nothing new with dedicated combo decks. I'd say I put together a halfway decent start to a solid combo deck. I know Paradox Engine combos are nothing new, and there's other more consistent ways to do similar things, but this is just the right amount of jank that I felt it deserved a video. Just the one game today, however, because this deck is kind of just a one-trick pony. It's either going to do its thing very, very well, or it's going to draw the wrong half of the deck and not do anything before we die. If you want to test this out for yourself or make adjustments, the deck is in the description. While you're down there, make sure you're subscribed so you can become a member of the Blue Crew today. If you enjoyed today's video, why don't you tap that like button too? It adds 1 mana to the YouTube algorithm and I greatly appreciate it. If you want to see some more of my content, then you can check out last week's episode where we showed off the power of Howling Mine and Ironcrag Pyromancer together in the same deck. Or you can check out this playlist to watch some of my shorts.